After years of being there for my best friend, she ghosted me during my darkest times. "You're my best friend," we'd say, "but now I'm just a shadow. She's busy with new friends and I'm tired of being hurt. Can our friendship survive this silence?" I need an outside perspective on this entire situation, not from a friend's viewpoint, but rather from someone whom I do not know. If you are someone who knows me, please take everything you read here and keep it private. So for some background information, I moved to the country I am living in about 3 years ago. I had to leave almost everything behind to come here to this Muslim country. I am from a Latino country, so the culture shock was overwhelming, and the level of education here is immensely more sophisticated than in my home country. It felt like attending university back home. As I mentioned, I moved to a new country and had no friends. The connection between my friends and me from my home country faded. We barely communicate, and it is a miracle if we talk occasionally. Additionally, when I moved here, it was during the peak of COVID-19, and I was also experiencing severe depression, having just ended a relationship right before coming to this country. At the school I enrolled in, I met my now best friend. When I say best friend, I mean she is the only person I consider to be my best friend. I only have one best friend. You are either my friend or a close friend, but there is only one person I regard as my best friend. I have been best friends with her for roughly the same amount of time I have spent in this new country. She and I are incredibly close, and she also considers me her best friend. We used to talk every day, either in person or online, and most days we were on the phone for hours. We would hang out with friends, and I would sometimes visit her as a surprise, like at 10 p.m. at night, which is a significant deal since her parents are very protective and have issues with letting her go to hangouts with men unless at least one other girl is present. So my being at her house is several steps above that. Interestingly, despite their concerns, they do not mind too much when I visit since they have met me a few times and even her siblings know me. Some of her sisters get excited when I visit. My family is aware of her as well, and she even got to meet my grandparents when they came to visit me in this country. We are so similar that some people, even we ourselves, say that we are just gender-bent versions of each other. To be candid about how I feel about her, which is relevant to the entire situation, I love this girl, but not in the conventional sense. I love her as a friend, as a best friend, as someone who has been there through her ups and downs. I love her platonically, but I also love her romantically, not in a sexual way, but in a more typical vanilla sense. Out of all the best friends I have ever had, she is the first one I have cared for this deeply, and I believe that is part of the reason I love her romantically. I have never had someone so amazing and such a great friend that is so perfect that I do not want to share them with anyone. So somehow the best way to ensure that is by being with them. I do not really know how to explain it, but I like her a lot. I enjoy being her best friend. Even when she had a boyfriend for a few months, I still loved her as a friend and was genuinely happy for her happiness, at least for the time it lasted. The boyfriend in the end was not that great. She's the only friend I have given the most gifts to, and I love this girl immensely. I would even consider marrying her, but as we have both mentioned key phrase, both we enjoy being best friends and nothing more. I will be honest, I am okay with that. Would I want her to be my girlfriend? Yes, but I also enjoy being her best friend immensely. However, it does not help that everything she looks for in a potential partner perfectly describes me to some extent. A significant event occurred when I had to transfer schools. Everything remained the same, but afterwards she ended up moving back to her home country, approximately halfway through my time at this new school, which was something. However, we talked a lot, and we set up a schedule to communicate due to the time zone differences. We maintained this schedule until she eventually stopped replying. I would text her, and she would not respond. This continued for almost a full month until she returned, explaining that she was not feeling well and had essentially isolated herself. To provide some context, this was not the first time she had done something similar. Previously, she had done it, but only for about a week when she becomes overwhelmed or stressed. In those instances, she tends to withdraw and cut off communication with everyone, but the main difference was that before she would at least talk to me a little. She was just overwhelmed with beginning university and struggling to make friends, so I understood why she disappeared. After a few months, she returned to the country and we met up again. I went to her house in the middle of the night with some McDonald's to eat outside. Those small hangouts with just the two of us will always be among my favorite memories. Eventually, she went back to her home country to continue her studies and made new friends, but that is when things began to decline. After she made new friends and reconnected with one old friend, her communication with me decreased. We spent less and less time together. She communicated less frequently online, and we had fewer calls because she was spending time with her new friends and the old friend. Honestly, I was happy for her, but it was disheartening that we were spending less and less time together until we barely communicated at all. Then came the time when I really needed her. I was extremely stressed and dealing with other problems. It became so severe that I had a complete breakdown and experienced an anxiety attack, and she was not there for me like she had been in the past. When she did return, all of that was old news. Eventually, my depression worsened, and I ended up engaging in very foolish behavior. Again, she was almost non-existent during that time, but this time she came back not long after all of that. She asked me if I was all right, and my foolish personality and brain caused me to lie and say I was fine. I did not want to burden her. She pressed the subject once more, but when I again insisted that I was fine, she believed me to some extent. Now I want to point out that when something is wrong with me, I do leave some hints for my friends, and I have told her that if I'm in a bad state, she should push hard to get me to open up because I struggle to ask for help. However, she did not push hard, and as time passed, she apologized for disappearing and not being there, and I said it was okay since I was being a bit unreasonable. Then she returned to the country and I went all out with her goodbye gift. I made her a handwritten letter with some drawings, we are both artists, and fashioned her a flower out of plastic spoons with a green dyed bottom, so when you put a light underneath, it turns green with white accents and black. Suffice it to say that she liked the gift as well. I also gave her a ring during another hangout. She wears a lot of rings, but I cannot deny that I did think of romantic intentions when giving her that ring. Afterward, she returned to her home country, and once again, we experienced the same cycle of her disappearing. This time it was due to that old friend I mentioned, who was essentially using her as his therapist and had feelings for her. She told me she had absolutely no feelings for him, so since she is a people pleaser, she spent all her time with him, even though she knew their friendship was toxic. During that time, she finally started talking and venting to me again, but it was short-lived as after she finally broke things off with him, she found a new group of friends and lost me again. From that point on, we rarely spoke, and the few times we did, it was for a short while. However, just a few weeks ago, we began talking more, but that is where the reason I am writing this post comes in. A few weeks ago, I was informed that my grandmother has cancer again, but this time it is terminal and she does not have much longer at minimum. She has about 4 years, but considering the type of cancer, it could be less, and it is the kind that is painful. Suffice it to say, I broke down and I needed my best friend for emotional support. Since we had recently started talking again, I thought she would be there for me, but she was not. However, that was okay since she returned about 2 days after I received the news, but that is when I saw she was at her grandmother's house, having lost her only a year ago, and she was still dealing with that. From her stories, it was clear she was struggling, so I hid my feelings and didn't tell her about my situation. She did not realize I was not doing well after about a week of receiving my news, but at that time I did not want to tell her even if she pressed me. She only asked me twice, "Are you okay?" and then disappeared again. Afterward, I managed to work through my feelings, but when I saw why she had disappeared again, it was because she was hanging out with her friends from over there. This is disappointing. I am happy for her that she has friends, but it has been almost a year now, and 90% of the time, I have been sitting on the sidelines watching my best friend post almost every day about hanging out with her friends while I, her so-called best friend, feel sidelined. To be clear, I am tired, and I need a stable friendship or, at the very least, someone who will be there when it matters and engage in conversation often. Not every day, but at least frequently. So I do not know what to do. I do not want to continue getting hurt and let down by my best friend whom I love dearly. I know she does not do this intentionally. It is just her nature, but even when she realizes what she is doing, she becomes anxious and does not know how to start a conversation with me again, even though I have done my best to reassure her that she does not need to worry about that with me. Yet, that reassurance does not seem to be enough. I love her, I love being her best friend, I love that beautiful smile of hers that makes my heart flutter. However, I cannot keep going if I am going to get hurt and disappointed repeatedly. I do not want this to end, but I am unsure of what else to do. I know that if I have another long conversation with her, like all the other times, things will be fine for a bit, but eventually she will revert to her old habits. From what I know, she has never truly experienced losing a really good friend due to some mistake on her part and learned the importance of staying in contact and ensuring that friends are okay. I fear I may end up being that lesson for her, but I do not want to be that. I do not want to be the one to teach her that, but the way things seem, I might have to be. The worst part is that just yesterday, she vented her feelings but did so on her social media instead of talking to someone directly. This frustrates me because I want to help her. There are things I know I can assist her with. However, right now, given how I feel, I do not think I should do that, which is incredibly frustrating. It is as if I am contemplating ending our friendship just when she needs support the most. I just do not know. I am tired of being hurt repeatedly. If you read this far, thank you for your patience. I am sorry for my ramblings, I just do not know how to express everything accurately. I feel a range of emotions for her. I have cried, been angry, felt everything, but I still do not know what I should do. Thank you for reading, I suppose. I apologize for my lengthy story. Goodbye. Story 2. My boyfriend, a true emotional wizard, says, "I don't feel understood, and my heart shatters. I freeze when conflicts arise, fearing I'll lose him if I don't figure it out fast enough. Can I learn to step into his shoes before it's too late? Hello, Reddit. I am in a relationship lasting about 2.5 years with someone I truly love. We are currently in a long-distance situation. Recently, he opened up to me and expressed that he does not feel understood by me and is uncertain if he ever will. This is something he has struggled with in many of his friendships as well, but it is especially painful for him in a romantic relationship. It has caused him considerable anxiety about our future together. That conversation broke my heart. He is one of the most emotionally mature individuals I have ever encountered. His emotional intelligence is exceptional. He is the person all his friends turn to for assistance with relationship issues, conflict, emotional support, anything. I have even referred my own friends to him when they needed guidance. It is as if he possesses therapist-level emotional skills. He has an innate understanding of people and can grasp the entire situation in a way that I genuinely admire. One time I asked him how he does that, what enables him to communicate with and understand people so profoundly. He shared two insights with me. First, you cannot be rigid in your own viewpoint. If you are inflexible, you will never be able to genuinely comprehend someone else's perspective in the first place. Second, you must actively put yourself in the other person's shoes. It is not enough to merely acknowledge their feelings. You must truly immerse yourself in their experience to understand it. This is where I struggle. I never even reached that step. I am stuck at step 1. I did not learn how to process my own feelings in the moment, let alone communicate them or make space for someone else's feelings simultaneously. While I was growing up, I did not have the opportunity to express my emotions. If I was angry or upset, I could not say anything. I would retreat to my room and journal alone, and that was the only time I felt safe to process anything. Now in this relationship, when something intense arises, my brain goes into survival mode. I freeze, I shut down, I withdraw because I become overwhelmed and fear that I will say the wrong thing. There was one occasion during a conflict when I felt so emotionally overwhelmed that I essentially shut down and emotionally withdrew from the conversation. I did not even realize how that would affect him. However, he told me afterward that it felt as though I had abandoned him emotionally, and I completely understand that. Hearing this was painful, but I get it. He is someone who needs to feel like we are working through things together side by side. When issues remain unresolved, they linger with him and ruin his day, and I honestly feel that way too. However, our triggers exacerbate one another. He requires closeness and real-time communication. I feel scared and need space to think. It simply does not mesh well. But here is the crux of what has been really hurting him, and what I fear I will not be able to change quickly enough. He has mentioned that when we are in conflict or even just discussing something significant, it often takes hours or multiple lengthy conversations over several days for me to fully grasp his viewpoint. He states that he has to break down his feelings and thoughts repeatedly, rephrasing, restating, and explaining in different ways. This is emotionally exhausting for him, and more than that, it is the reason he feels misunderstood. What makes him feel secure is the ability to express his feelings once or twice, and for me to simply understand him. Not perfectly, not with the ideal response, but to genuinely comprehend without requiring him to explain it in 10 different ways. That is what understanding looks like to him. That is what safety feels like for him, and I am not there yet. Since that conversation regarding his anxiety and the sense of being unseen, I have started freezing up even more. It is not because I fear conflict, but because I now feel this pressure to get it right, and if I do not, it will serve as proof that I am not what he needs. It feels as if I do not perform flawlessly in those moments, I will lose him. And I do not want to lose him. I want to be with him forever. The reality is I am trying. I have been practicing expressing how I feel in the moment, even if it is messy or incomplete. Sometimes I even say, hey, I am attempting to do that thing to communicate how I feel right now instead of later, and I go for it. He has been patient with me when I do that. He has given me space to make mistakes and grow. However, I am afraid that if I make too many mistakes, I will reach the last straw. I would understand that as well. He deserves to feel emotionally seen and secure with his partner, and I want to be that person for him more than anything. He is not perfect either, and I am being patient with his flaws as well. However, this particular issue, this pattern, is something he has brought up several times now. He has pointed out multiple conversations in which he has felt unseen or unheard, and it is evident that it is becoming a significant issue for him. This terrifies me. If anyone out there has gone through something similar, whether learning to grow in this way or being the partner who needs to feel seen, I would greatly appreciate your advice. How do you cultivate the skill of processing your own feelings while remaining present and empathetic to someone else? How do you learn to step into another person's shoes when your mind is still trying to make sense of your emotions? How do you grow quickly enough to sustain a relationship while still being human? I want to improve for him, for myself, and for everyone else I love in my life. Thank you for reading. Any advice or input would be greatly appreciated. Summary. My boyfriend feels emotionally misunderstood because I need time to process things, while he needs to feel understood quickly to feel safe. He often has to explain himself multiple times, which is exhausting for him. I am working on emotional regulation and communication during conflict, but I am afraid I will not grow rapidly enough and might lose him.